everybody. I'm Nina Soden, urban fantasy author of the Blood Angel series, the Sector C series, and the just released A Beast Within, an interactive novel. And today I am super excited because I have Candace Havens with me. Candace is a best-selling author, and she has published 38 books. Wow. Her novels have received nominations for the RITAs, Holt Medallion, Right Touch Reader Awards, and National Reader's Choice Awards. She is a Barbara Wilson Award winner. She is the author of the biography Joss Whedon, the genius behind Buffy, one of my favorite shows, and a contributor to several anthologies. She's also one of the nation's leading entertainment journalists and has interviewed countless celebrities, from George Clooney to Chris Pratt. Candace runs a free online writing workshop for more than 2,000 writers and teaches comprehensive writing classes. She does film reviews with Hawkeye in the Morning on 96.3 KSCS and is a former president of the Television Critics Association. Welcome, Candace.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I mean, that is an amazing kind of list of things you've done in your life and things that you are doing. That's pretty fantastic.
When you read it like that, I'm like, well, I guess I'm not lazy.
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? So, of course, the fangirl in me has to ask the question, have you met Joss Whedon in person? I assume writing the book, you had to meet.
Yes, many times, many times. There's a lot of controversy surrounding him right now, so I have to be very careful what I say, but I feel like there's two sides to every story, and I feel like he hasn't told his part yet.
Not even in the book?
I'm sorry?
Not even in the book, his story didn't get told?
No, well, I wrote that book 20 years ago, 15 years ago. So yeah, when he was just starting out, I knew he was going to be huge. I knew he was going to do a lot of stuff. So, and I even say that. Like I said, there's a lot of controversy around him right now. And I feel like there's two sides to every story. And can't just judge by everything you read in the press.
I agree completely. So you have written 38 books. When did you start writing?
Well, I've been a journalist for as old as I am, 33 years, 34 years, maybe 35 years, 33 years. That's right. Okay. So I've been writing for a very long time as a journalist, TV critic and film critic and that sort of thing. But I didn't start writing fiction until about 2003. And then my first book was published with Berkeley in 2005. It was Charmed and Dangerous. It was basically, and this is so crazy, Josh was taking Buffy off the air, and I was so angry. I was like, I'm just going to create my own sort of person like that. And so what I did was combine Buffy and Willow into sort of the same character. She's a witch. She protects the British Prime Minister. And so that's the Charmed and Dangerous series, and that's how it started out. And I just got really lucky. That first book was published because the editor I had an agent, but the editor who read it was 9 months pregnant, and it made her laugh out loud. And so, so she bought the book. That's the story.
That's awesome. And you just haven't stopped writing ever since. And obviously, if you've done that many books in that short of a time, you write rather quickly, yes?
I do. I even teach a class on how to write a book in 2 weeks. It's called Fast Draft. I feel like if you get that down on the page really fast, the continuity is usually better. It's a mess and you have to go back and fix it, but your continuity is better and things like that. And so I do, because I've often worked 2 and 3 jobs, well, come on, let's be honest, 3 and 4 jobs at a time, a TV critic, full-time columnist, on the radio, all of that. I have to write fast. I basically have weekends and nights. And so it's something I just taught myself to do, and I'm trying to teach others.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So tell me, what is your process like when you sit down to write? You say you have weekends and you have evenings. You're obviously not a full-time writer because you've got a gazillion jobs. So when you sit down, you did? Not anymore?
Yeah,
not a gazillion jobs now? Okay.
Yeah, I'm still doing film critique for the radio station, but I've backed away from everything else. I was editing full time, and I've backed away from all of that to write full time. I just had too many projects coming up this year and it was getting to me. And I have lupus. I just found out it's kind of a recent diagnosis, and I was really tired. And I was like, I just can't. I'm not Superwoman anymore, or Wonder Woman, which is what my family, my friends call me. And so I had to find a new way to work. And I'm still writing super fast. Like I said, even being very ill this last year, I wrote 7 books. So I was feeling down on myself. I could have done more. And then my friend said, "You've written 7 books this year. You realize that, And I was like, oh no, I didn't realize that. So, yeah, I mean, I've had to teach myself how to focus, right? And it's even harder now because I'm on chemo drugs. It messes with your brain and all that kind of stuff. But I just won't allow it to mess. This is my chance to write full time. I'm so excited. But I had to come to a house in Utah where there are no other people, so I could just focus. And it's been great. And I finished my last contracted book. It's coming out in June. And now I can write pretty much whatever I want and try whatever I want. And so it's a very exciting time for me.
That's exciting. So you have June 15th is when that contracted book comes out, and that is A Case for the Cookie Baker, yes?
Yes.
Okay. So Candace has graciously offered to do a giveaway for everybody viewing this video, this interview. So please go ahead and comment below that you want to be entered, like this video, and share it on social media. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel so you don't ever miss a giveaway. But this video entails 4 ebooks plus the ARC copy of the latest book. Why don't you give us a little bit of a description about what this series has entailed for our readers?
It's a mystery series. It's really funny, and if you like humor, that's a good thing. And so it's set in a small, fake Texas town that might be someplace like Fredericksburg, if anybody's ever heard of that. Very quaint, very beautiful Main Street kind of thing. And this detective owns it's like crafters and artists and all types of people, winemakers come together in this one place, and they're like vendors inside this building. And so she solves crimes, much to her brother, who's the sheriff's chagrin. And so it's just a really fun series. You get to love the characters. And I created this series at a time when I very much just wanted to move someplace where everybody was nice to one another, and kindness was a thing,
Yeah.
And people helped each other out. But now this cast of characters, I just love them. And I love that fans say the same thing, like they want to go hang out with them. That's the biggest compliment of all, right? And so it's very important for me also to have a whodunit where you do not know until the very end who the killer is. And so I work very hard on that.
That's awesome. I cannot wait to share that with people. So if you want to be entered, make sure you comment below. All right. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. I want to know a little bit more about you. Now we know you when you started writing. We know that you have, spoken to celebrities. I mean, you have lived a very full life. But let's find out a little bit more about you. Where are you from? Where were you raised? What's your background?
Texas. I'm a native Texan. I was born in Fort Worth, but I lived all over Texas. I went to the High School of Performing Arts in Houston when I was a kid. And then when I went to college for undergrad, I came back here, came back there I'm not there right now, so it's weird. It's home, right? I came back to Fort Worth and settled there with my husband. And then we have 2 grown boys who will always be my babies. And I have 5 grandkids. So, yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
And 3 dogs, which is with me here in Utah.
Okay. And how, I assume you started writing when your kids were young, yes?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I'd always been a writer, journalist, right? So they were used to deadlines and me traveling and that sort of thing. And then the fiction came along, and I want to say they were, I can't do math, but I want to say they were fairly young when I started. And they were embarrassed because I had bad words and sexy stuff in my books. I mean, they didn't read them, but they knew that.
But they knew.
But then all of their friends thought it was really cool, right? So then it was like, Mom, I can't believe you did that, but that's kind of cool, you know? So yeah. And now I'm trying to write books that my grandkids could read, but I also still write super sexy stuff.
So it's not just mysteries. You also write everything from paranormal to exotica, yes?
Erotica, and I also write young adults under Mackenzie McGuire, a different name. I've just started that series. Well, I didn't just start. It started 2 years ago, and then I got 8 contracts in a row, and so put that aside for a bit. Yeah. And so I just realized I still have 4 open contracts with the publisher, but we can't decide on what we want to do next. So it's not like I don't have another contract to fulfill, but right now we're just trying to figure out what we want to do next. So, but yeah, so I totally lost the train of thought.
That's okay. It happens.
Yeah.
It's all good. So why change your name? Why did you choose to write your young adult under a pen name? Is it because of the erotica or?
Yeah, well, yeah, and my stuff is milder compared to some of what's out there, but I didn't want kids picking up a sexy book. And then also, although they can read the mysteries, they are very clean, very wholesome, very, family and friend oriented. So the kids can read the mysteries, but with the young adult, I just wanted to make that separation. A lot of writers don't, like Gina Showalter, and they do fine.
Yeah.
But I was uncomfortable with that. So, and she's awesome. She's a friend of mine, like more power to her. But I just wanted to write it for younger kids kind of, and I didn't want them to accidentally pick up one of the other books.
Nope, I can understand that. So what does your writing process look like? Obviously, you said you can write your first draft in 2 weeks. Is that typical for you with each of your books?
I write it really fast, and then it takes me maybe a month and a half to clean it up and really, or, a week, depending on the deadline. So, you know how it is.
Yes, absolutely. So
basically, I just sit down. I'm better. I'm not a good hit. Oh my gosh, so sorry.
You're fine.
My alarm's telling me it's time to do this. So.
Well, good. You made it.
Yeah, I know, right? Process-wise, I sit, put my headphones on, light my candle, and I taught myself to write anywhere. And I like to write in long stretches, like 6 to 7 hours, sometimes 12 hours. And there are days when I can knock out 30,000 words in a day. But it's harder for me now as I get a little older, but I can still do that. I did that recently. The book just fell out of my head. And since I've been here in Utah, I've been dreaming a lot of books, and like almost the whole thing comes out. So I've just been writing it in a notebook. So we'll see what happens.
So tell me, do you outline first, or is it just an idea comes to you, you sit down and you start writing it?
Both, actually. My publishers all, I work for several different publishers. They all want some sort of synopses, and some want more than others. And so, but sometimes I just sit down and start writing. I did my first 3 or 4 books that way. Okay. And then with the recent ones, I sort of start. So all I had to do was on the mystery, send them a little blurb for each book in the series. And then when it came time to write, I was like, oh, wow, I got to figure this out. Mysteries are a little bit harder for me than romance. And so I learned something. I can't think, is it Matt Nixon who wrote Burn Notice? He told me he starts with himself backed in a corner and works himself out. And okay. That's how I do these. And so I know it sounds a little confusing, but you start with there's no way out, and then you back yourself up, right?
Yeah.
And so that's how I start. So I start with a really loose plot. For the mysteries, every single book I've done in this series, every single one, the killer started out in my head as one person and ended up being another, and it made a lot more sense. So it's really strange how that works. Yeah. So my muse has really been with me on this series. I don't know how I did it. I don't know why it's getting good reviews. You know what I mean? I'm not bragging. I'm just shocked. I was shocked that I could do it, and then that it's doing so well.
That's awesome. So has COVID affected you as a writer and your process at all?
It did a little, I guess, because I had more time. I was home. And I, about, let's see, May, so COVID started March, right?
Yeah.
So May of that year, I was very ill, didn't have COVID, but I was very ill. And so I had to step away from our full-time editing job. And then I lost almost a whole summer. I wrote 2 books, but that's not much for me. And then I found out what was wrong with me, and they've been fixing me up ever since. But so COVID just meant I got to stay home and write more. I mean, I know that's terrible to say. So many people have suffered, and I'm social. I can talk to people, but I like being a hermit and being by myself. That's why I'm here at this house. I'm by myself, no interruptions. I can just write, and it's a luxury, and I know that. You know, I'm very grateful for the opportunity. But yeah, I didn't mind it. I suffered so horribly. I mean, financially, yes, it was tough, but we made it, you know, and I know so many people suffer, and I'm sorry, but for a writer, being stuck in your house is not such a bad thing.
It really isn't. It really isn't. So I think that that's awesome, because I've spoken with a lot of authors who have said, yeah, no, it's been good. I've been home. I've had more time. And then I've spoken with a lot of authors that said that their creative side was just not there. And I think a lot of them were just so focused on the negative aspects of COVID that it was hard. So
yeah,
especially those.
You can let yourself, oh, go ahead.
It's especially those that are used to not, writing in their home, but they like to be out at the coffee shops or outside, and that can have a negative effect. Absolutely.
I totally get that. I do. And you can let yourself be weighed down by all that negativity, but I teach this, like you can't wait for the time to write. You have to do it yourself, and you make choices every day whether to be happy or not, and so you've got to decide. And I'm not a Pollyanna. Trust me, there are many days where I'm like, nope, can't do it. I have those days as well. But when push comes to shove, I was not going to let what was going on around me hurt me in any way. Now, was I was also really sick. Like I had severe brain fog and couldn't think and things like that. So I was going through a whole different thing than a lot of people. So when the brain cleared a little bit, and all these creative thoughts came, I just went to town.
That's great. So you said that you put your headsets on when you write. Do you listen to music? And if so, what do you listen to when you're writing?
Every book has a soundtrack. It depends. Some of my go-tos are Joss Stone, who nobody knows who that is anymore, but she's got a low, sort of sexy voice, and Maren Morris and Casey Musgraves. Those are some of my even Faith Hill go-tos. The Chicks.
Yes.
Those guys I listen to pretty normally, but each book kind of has its own soundtrack. Like I'll pick songs that I like to listen to, and then it's over and over and over again, same songs. But it's also usually songs I know by heart, so I don't sit there and sing them.
Yes.
It's easier for me to get more done. I have ADD and ADHD, and if you have that kind of mind, music or some other thing, that's why I have the candle. It's a focus point. And I'm pointing like where my
it's
candle
over.
is
It's
right here.
It's right over there.
Yeah, it's right here. And so I have the candle and the headphones, and with the music, that keeps that crazy monkey brain busy while I can write.
Okay. So what does your editing process look like? I know for me, when I get through my first draft, I go through it 1,000 times, it feels like. And then it goes to, 5 to 7 beta readers. And then I go through it 1,000 times. Then it goes to my professional editor, that goes through it 1,000 times. What does that process look like for you? Considering you're working with a publisher, what do they go through?
Yeah.
What does that go through?
So I've pretty much for the last 2 years had a deadline every 3 months. And so I have one person who beta reads for me, and she's also my best friend. And so she will tell me if it sucks, right? But basically I do that first draft really fast. And then I let it sit for a day or two, 48 hours at least. And then I hit it hard, and I teach another class called Revision Help because I hate revisions, like hate them. And so I go through it and I do chunks, 30 pages a day, and I look for all these different things that I teach in revision help. And then I move to the next day to the next 30. That's my process. And it usually goes fairly quickly. I'm finishing edits on a book right now that's a Christmas book coming out in November, and please don't ask me the day. I want to say the 3rd. I don't even have a full title for it yet. The publisher there's like movie talk, and there's all that kind of stuff. And I mean, Holt movie talk. And so title is being pushed around a little, but it is coming out. And we're doing that under a totally different name. I'm writing it with my daughter-in-law, Crystal, if that was the whole thing. And awesome thing, I should say, because people could take that the wrong way. It's a Latino family. She's Latina, and we wrote stories that sort of expressed her family and their values, and that sort of thing. And it's set in Santa Fe, at least right now. I hope we don't have to change that. And it's a really fun story. So that's what I'm working on right now. But I work on 30 pages a day and going through and cleaning it up. That's what I do.
So I love revisions. So that's one of my favorite parts of the process, is actually doing the revisions, getting done with the first draft, and then going back, reading it, and deciding what's going to change. And that's the part I really like. So tell me, how was it writing with your daughter-in-law and doing a partnership where you are both writing the book? I have only ever written on my own, and I just don't know how that really would work for me. But how did that work for you guys?
It worked fairly well. There was a little push and shove, but she and I are also really great friends. At least I think so. I hope she would say that. But there's a little, push and pull. And then she's not an experienced writer, but she's a great storyteller. And so she and I sort of came together and came up with the idea. And then the publisher sort of said, well, what if we do this? And then our editor said, what if we do this? And then there's some movie people who are interested and said, what if you did that? And so I've meshed all those things. I do the majority of the writing, but she very much goes in and layers in sort of those family moments and the words and things and expressions, all of that, to really show us who these people are. And she's excellent at it. But so far, it was pretty smooth. It's been fairly easy.
So do you think that you will partner with her again on another project?
I hope to. We both had really tough years. She had a serious cancer diagnosis, and I feel like if we could do all this while all that's going on, then and she's fine now. She's clear. She's good. We pray every day if that continues. But I think we would like to do more for sure. We have a lot of brothers and sisters in that family.
Very cool. So tell us a little bit about how you develop your characters. Are they based off of people you know? Do you just come up with them? How do your characters come to life?
It's a bit of both. Honestly, I would like to say that sometimes characters are an amalgamation of people I know. Like I have several characters who are my friend Shannon and my friend Ricky mixed together, and they know that they can usually see themselves in the books. Yeah. Kira in one of my early series, Like a Charm. I remember the title of my books. I never do that. That's crazy. So that is definitely my friend Shannon. Like everybody knows, it's my friend Shannon. But for the most part, I listen, I watch people, and then I sort of put characters together. And then there are characters like Ainsley, who is the star, so to speak, the lead in the Case for the Cookie Baker in those books, the Ainsley McGregor series. She just started talking in my head. And I called my agent. I'm like, so I have this idea. And she's like, oh my gosh, that's like fun. And, it was crazy. And I had that same experience with my first series, Charmed and Dangerous. And I was like, I was really mad at Joss. And I'm like, I'm just going to create, oh my gosh. All these alarms I've set for myself. Sorry.
You're fine.
I was really mad at Joss for taking Buffy off, like I said earlier. And so I just wanted to put something together, and I was going to bed and it scared the crap. Can I say crap?
Yeah, you can.
It scared the crap out of me because there was this voice and it was so loud. And she said, "My name is Bronwyn and I'm a witch." And I was like, "What?" And I'm like looking down the room. and yeah, so that's how that happened. I had a book recently. Well, just an idea. I mentioned this yesterday because I was trying to figure out what kind of bird made that sound. And I posted it on Instagram, and everybody was laughing because I was like, I had this dream about a serial killer, right? And he had this weird whistle before he killed. Like he made this weird sound, and then he would chase the person down and kill them, right? And so, and it's so funny because my dreams sort of skip past the gory parts.
Yes, of course.
An idea for this character, and he was very in my head, and I'm like, please don't be a part. Like in my dream, I'm like, I hope that's not part of my subconscious because that's really awful. But then I woke up and I opened the screen door to let Elvis out, and I hear that whistle, and I slammed the door. It was so real for me. But this guy is in my head, and I'm gonna have to write him down because he wants his story told, and that just happens. And then sometimes somebody comes up with an idea and I write a story. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So you're an author. You like books. What do you like to read? What genre is your go-to when you just want to grab a book and read?
Wow. I'm very diverse. I need to take a drink of water. Just one sec.
Yep, go right ahead.
I'm talking too much because my mouth is dry. So I'm very diverse in what I read. So lately I've been reading really sexy Katie Roberts books, but I also love Jodie Thomas and how she creates her characters. And I love Gina's, her Warriors series, with the dark angels, basically. And so, but I also read a lot of nonfiction, but I'm pretty much drawn to paranormal YA and paranormal books in general. But right now I'm reading a lot about, it's so boring, but it's not for me, French history and things that happened at a certain time. And so I'm reading a lot of history books, which actually are really cool, and I'm excited about it. But it's all for, it's a book that I wrote when I was it was my master's thesis book,
Okay.
And they made me write something that was totally foreign to me, which was a historical YA. And so I think I want to make that book something special. So
okay,
I've been doing a lot of research.
So a lot of research right now. All right.
Well, I downloaded your books. I haven't had time to read them because I'm in edits, but I will.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So tell me a little bit about if you prefer, and I know my answer, but do you prefer ebooks, paperbacks, hardcover? Do you like to hold it in your hand? Do you like a library in your phone? What's your go-to?
Both. I have phone, but I have tablets, so I read on my tablets. But I also like holding a book in my hand.
Have you ever read a book just because of the cover?
Yeah, many times. My friends and I, back in the old days when you could go to a bookstore, we used to go get baskets of books, and we would sit at the Starbucks and go through the books. And a lot of them we picked by the cover and the blurb, just like everyone else does. And then we would read the first few lines, and if it interested us, we would share. I miss those days. I hope we get to do that soon.
Yeah, right? I'm looking forward to the post-COVID world, whatever that's going to look like. All right. So do you have anything else that you'd like to talk about that we haven't yet discussed? Any books that you really want to talk about, or anything about your process?
You've been really thorough. I feel like we've talked about just about everything. Just so you guys know, that Christmas book, we decided to do a pseudonym to protect my daughter-in-law. So that will be under Cecilia Guzman. Just so you guys know, to look for that. It's in November. I want to say the 3rd, and maybe it's called A Christmas in Santa Fe, and maybe it's not. No idea.
Okay. Well, you will have to keep me updated and let me know. I do plan to have links to your books down in the description below. So if you are watching this and you want to check out her books, go to the links in the description below and check them out. They are available and you should definitely purchase a copy. All right. Now, I end all of my interviews with an honor to James Lipton, the Inside the Actors Studio host, and I do his famous 10-question questionnaire. No, you do not have to describe or explain or anything your answers, just answer as quickly as possible, whatever comes to mind. Okay? All right, question number 1. What is your favorite word?
Flower.
Okay. What is your least favorite word?
It's a cuss word, GD. I'm not going to say it.
What turns you on?
Oh, wow. Abs.
Oh, yes. What turns you off?
Mean people.
What sound or noise do you love?
Laughter.
And what sound or noise do you hate?
My dog's licking.
Okay. What is your favorite curse word? And yes, you can say it.
Fuck.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
Oh, wow. I've had a few. I'm a therapist, maybe.
Okay. What profession would you not want to try?
Coding. I think that would be boring.
Okay.
But God bless those people who do it.
That's right. Last question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
You weren't perfect, but you're welcome in.
Okay. All right. All right, everybody. That is Candace Havens. If you have not already checked out her books, make sure you do so. And thank you for taking time out of your day to do this interview with me. It was so fun.
It went by really quick. Thank you so much.
Yes.